this evening, we're starting out this evening with a public hearing. It's an adjustment to the campground law. Once again, this is a public hearing. With that, it's not a question and answer. We're here to listen to what the people have to say, okay? Teddy, could you please read the proposal?
Okay, it's long, so I'm going to skim over it to give the highlights, and if you want further detail, please let me know. Requirements. The vacation campgrounds are special permit use consisting of a tract of land designed exclusively for overnight and short-term duration vacation camping through the period of March 1 through November 15th, providing lodging accommodations, facilities for tents, campers, recreational vehicles, recreation activities, administration, public health and safety. The minimum frontage shall be 250 feet of frontage on a paved public road or highway. Where a parcel of land does not meet this requirement, a minimum of 60 foot may be permitted for use as an easement for gaining access to a larger parcel that would otherwise meet the requirements of a special use permit. Living quarters for a resident manager, caretaker, or property owner shall be provided within a permanent structure meeting all applicable building codes. A resident manager, caretaker, or property owner shall be on the premises at all times or as determined by the code enforcement officer to oversee the operations and to guard against vandalism during the off-season. No other permanent year-round living quarters are permitted on the site other than the designated campsites. Screening. All campground sites shall be screened from the view of the adjacent properties and adjoining public highways and roads by means of an opaque screen of plant materials and/or fencing. All screening shall be approved by the code enforcement officer and properly maintained after placement. Fire protection. The property owner shall ensure that adequate fire protection equipment is on the premises at all times and approved by the code enforcement officer. Phone. Each campground shall have at least one working phone that is accessible to the public for emergency calls. Minimum spacing. Minimum spacing between campsites shall be 80 feet from extremity to extremity. Water supply. The site shall be serviced by a private water system. A minimum rate of 200 gallons per day per site shall be provided with a minimum pressure of 20 pounds per square inch at peak demand. Sewage disposal. The site shall be provided with a public or private sanitary sewage disposal system subject to the following requirements by the New York State Department of Health codes, which shall have authority and jurisdiction. Toilets, lavatories, utility sinks. Only flush toilets shall be provided unless an alternative system is approved by the authority having jurisdiction. A minimum of 2 toilets for each sex shall be provided and in compliance with ADA requirements. General requirements. Toilet facilities shall be provided. These facilities shall be constructed of cleanable materials and maintained in a sanitary condition and in good repair. This is all according to the Department of Health. Minimum of 4 toilets per person per sex shall be provided at all campgrounds. Additional toilets shall be provided as follows. Campsites without individual sewer connections, 1 toilet per sex for each additional 25 campsites. Campsites with additional sewer connections, 1 toilet per sex for each additional 75 campsites, and after the first 25 campsites located within 500 feet of each campsite. Urinals may be submitted for up to 1/3 of the required toilets in the male facilities for campgrounds constructed or enlarged after the effective date of this subpart. For every 2 toilets, 1 hand wash facility shall be provided. Hand wash facilities shall be located in proximity to the toilets. Utility sinks for disposal of dishwater shall be provided and conveniently located. Showers, 1 shower per each 15 campsites shall be provided. Sewer treatment facility. The design shall be based on the water supply, design flow plus infiltration, and approved by the town and the New York State Department of Health. At least 1 travel trailer, camper, recreational vehicle, sanitary dumping station shall be supplied for every 100 campsites or less. Solid waste. Trash and garbage shall be stored in an enclosed, covered, waterproof container and removed at least weekly. Vehicular access, each campground shall be provided with 2 means of access from public roads. Sight distance of each entrance and exit shall be unobstructed for a distance of 300 feet in either direction. Streets, each campground shall provide a collector street with a minimum of 18 feet for two-way traffic and 10 feet for one-way traffic. As a minimum, the street shall be constructed with a gravel base with adequate drainage as approved by the code enforcement officer. Grade shall not exceed 12%. Parking, a 14 by 50 foot strip shall be constructed as a minimum. A 45-degree pull-through for camper trailers shall be provided. Landscaping, the entire site shall be covered by areas covered by structures, service or parking areas shall be landscaped. All landscaping shall be approved by the code enforcement officer and properly maintained after planting. Noise, no excessive noise shall be permitted between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. and not to exceed 60 decibels. Events, parties, gatherings, no events, parties, gatherings, or fireworks are permitted unless an event permit is granted by the town board in its sole discretion. And basically, it's just saying that everything else that's in the local laws and the zoning law will remain in effect. And I thank Greg Pitchler for his help in creating all of this. Thank you, Greg.
Okay, we're here to hear what you have to say, and I do believe there's some copies of the proposal back there, okay?
You said that the purpose of the public hearing isn't to ask any questions. Can we offer suggestions for other things we'd like to see included in the law?
Yes, you can offer suggestions. We're here to listen.
Okay. I didn't hear anything about like recreational vehicles being allowed on the properties or firearms. I'd like to see if there's something that you can include in there for that. And I'm sorry, my little one was walking over to me, so I wasn't really focused on the part about the access roads to it. Is Oak Hill Road going to have a major overhaul if somebody puts a large campground on it?
Greg, I think you're more apt to.
So the way we wrote the updated zoning was, I guess campground couldn't be allowed on the Oak Hill Road unless it was granted a variance,
Okay.
because it doesn't meet the requirements of our paved road. We wrote into the zoning that it should be on a paved road, because our side roads or back roads, we'd have to assess them one at a time for their, the amount of traffic and everything else. So in order for a campground to be built like on Oak Hill Road with the way we're writing in the new zoning laws, it would be a zoning variance to grant them a variance from the restriction of the paved roads. Which means it would be a meeting with our zoning board, and it would have to have a public hearing set, and any public can come and comment on each individual case.
Okay. And I also didn't notice, was there mention of setbacks from other residences?
I think there's setbacks on there. Yes, there is setbacks in there.
Do you recall what the number was?
500 feet.
500.
Any more comments?
Setbacks means setbacks.
I got a question. It mentions campsites, but it doesn't mention anything about cabins. So how would that be similar, different?
Do you want me to answer that, or?
If you'd like. I mean, it's supposed to be not a question and answer program, but
Oh, okay.
go ahead.
So, each part of these reviews, anybody that comes before us for a campground, we have our discretion as the planning board whether or not to allow RVs, campers, tents. We pretty much set with the size of the space and the spacing. We can determine whether or not to allow cabins, campers, tents, as part of the planning board action. It's a permitted use, but it's a special permitted use, which means that the planning board has full discretion on what's being done there.
Thank you, Greg.
But if there was a cabin, it would be a campsite.
It would be
Correct.
considered a
Yes,
campsite.
it would count as a campsite.
Yes, sir.
Under the landscaping, does the planning board approve the landscaping, or is that up to the CEO to decide what's adequate?
You want me to keep answering? That's fine. I mean, it would definitely all be, it would all
Go ahead.
be handled with me through the planning board. In other words, we would have them come up with a landscape plan as part of the planning process, approved by the planning board, but enforced by me.
Okay. This project on Oak Hill Road is looking at an awful lot of things against it. I've been in contact with the New York State Department of State Codes Division, and apparently you need a few variances to do what he's proposing on his website. The code calls for these, I call them sheds with beds, because they have no bathrooms or kitchens. And they're either 100 or 200 square feet. They have to be connected to the building that houses the sanitary facilities with a hallway or a corridor. Clearly, they're not going to do that. They're not proposing to do that. These units have to be sprinkled as per the New York State code. That's going to be difficult on temporary foundations. He's showing that the floors will be heated in these structures. It's my understanding that if the power used to make the heated floors is non-renewable, that is coal, oil, gas, electric. If it's non-renewable, they have to meet the New York State Energy Code requirements, which is quite stringent. And he's showing glass roofs and glass walls. Never going to meet any kind of energy code requirement for that. So we need a variance for that too, I guess. Anyway, I appreciate what you folks have drawn up here. It's very complete, and it pleases me greatly to see this, the way it's written. And I think everybody here should be pleased with it. There's one question though. If this person makes an application before this law is passed, where do we stand? Have we contacted the attorney about that?
We did, that's a big part of why this had been under discussion prior. And when you came last time, we thought the best solution was to move as rapidly as we could on this. And so we spoke with Greg at such time. And with this going through and the public notice, we will be in good shape as far as once we get this approved. We've got to have an approval from the county. And then with that, we have to introduce it into law.
Well, that's going to take a couple of months. If it has to go to
No,
county first.
tomorrow, we'll see tomorrow we'll find out what the county thinks on the 239. And then, at that point in time, we can either wait till March 5th, or we can set a date within 2 weeks from that. And with that, we could have it finalized.
Excellent.
And that was, with your input from that, I mean, like I said, we were already addressing and aware of it from Greg and such, not the planning board, but once you came and it kind of brought it to light that let's just move forward, and we put our focus directly on it, and with that, we were all in communication with Greg and with Dick. Teddy's our planning board representative, and we moved forward with it. And we got a hold of the attorney and asked him to move along with this as quick as possible, and he was very good about it. And with that, the county representative understood our situation and said that he would put it on right away. So that's going on tomorrow. Just so you all know that if we do get the approval from that, we're gonna make a motion to have another public notice tonight, as well as a motion for the 239. And the purpose behind that is we wanted this to have a chance to hear what you all had to say. But along with that, we'll state that there's gonna be another public hearing, basically for the same thing as is now, but we kind of doubled it up to try and make this move forward.
So you're thinking within a month or so?
Oh, yeah, well, it's by March 5th, we will have this sworn in.
Great.
As long as it's up to the board to vote in approval of it, that March 5th it'll be done.
Thank you very much.
Thank yous for your input.
Thank you guys for moving so quickly on it all. Really appreciate it.
Thank yous.
Thank you.
Yes,
I want to share one thing, is I have horses on Oak Hill, and they're very inviting animals, and I'm a little concerned that if there are a lot of people going up and down the road, if they go for walks, they're gonna want to go visit them, and I would be concerned that they would try to interact with them or try to feed them. So I, just wanted to voice that.
And
Thank you.
the horses like too.
Yeah.
See if the dogs are.
They just lick them to death, that's all.
I just want to say thank you guys, and just not more of a question, this question on Greg's comment. As far as the paved roads and access goes, is that in the zoning? It's not in this document. That's in a revised zone?
Yes, this whole thing we just created with Teddy, the planning board, everybody, is going to be adopted into our new zoning code.
Okay.
This is the procedure we have to go through to get it into our new zoning code. So, yes, and everything is it's a special use permit, which means that the planning board has full jurisdiction on all the conditions that go with the campground. So, if a campground was to come, even though this just kind of sets a guideline for us to go by, but each specific thing, we can set the conditions, even if it wasn't written in there, like the planning board could say, no ATVs on the property, no firearms on the property. I'm gonna look at adding the stuff that you were concerned about, but as far as like individual items, we can have a resolution if it's passed with all those conditions on it.
anything further? Yes?
I'm just wondering, could we get some hints as to what standards the zoning board and the planning board might apply for variances or special permits?
Run that by me again, because I didn't hear what you said very well.
Say it again. It would be wonderful if we could have some hints of what standards the zoning board or the planning board might apply to the granting of special permits or variances in this case.
So like what kind of circumstances might be presented to you that would cause you to consider
That would be something
allowing
to be
some?
brought up to the zoning board, wouldn't it?
The planning board would, I guess I'm confused too. What happens, this is the baseline, as Greg said, for what happens. Now, somebody already meets all of this. The paved road, the setbacks, the whole 9 yards, everything is in place. They come before the planning board, they come for, so code enforcement officer for site plan review. Then they come to the planning board. The planning board would review the application. And at that time, based on what they're actually applying for, we would be able to look at it and say, again, addressing the noise ordinance or addressing what kind of units there are gonna be there, stipulations about, okay, no guns, no hunting, any of that can happen just like with any other site plan review that comes before the planning board. There would also be a public hearing, at which time the public, all the neighbors within 500 feet would be notified. The neighbors could come to the public hearing, they could express their concerns, and sometimes with those concerns, we can work to mitigate with the applicant to see if we could come to common ground.
Thank you.
Does that answer your
Yes,
question?
that's,
The only other suggestion I might have is, as far as properties that are bordering the campground, if there's farming activities, or say high tensile fence, electrified fence, maybe should be a little more stringent regulation on the barrier from the campground to the electrified fence, because that get into serious issues there.
That happened only once.
Well,
Only once, you know, back up.
any campground that's ever been approved under my watch, we've always had signs on the perimeter of the campground. We made the campground owner put signs on the perimeter of the campground. This, no further beyond this point. In other words, this is private property, and we always kept those in like 50 feet on the owner's property, no trespassing by this point, and the people are made aware of that when they're staying there, that they're not to venture off, like posting it for kind of like private property.
Okay. All right, thank you. Close out the public hearing. Start the regular meeting. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
minutes from January 2nd. The organizational meeting of the Franklin Town Board was called to order by Supervisor Don Smith at 6 p.m. Present were Don Smith, Karen Sitz, Lloyd Bruno, Heather Ross, Betty Story, Jamie Archibald, Paul Warner, and Greg Petula. Appointments were proposed. I'm not going to read them all. Garrett Sitz made the motion to accept all appointments as proposed. Heather Ross seconded the motion. All present agreed. Then we did the meeting dates for the year. They'll be on the website, so I'm not going to read those. Jamie asked if they could have a highway committee consisting of him and 2 board members that he could meet with a few times a year. He said they have 3 quotes for a plow for the new truck. Prices include installation. They are from Binghamton Truck Body. It was a V-Plow 10-foot flare top, complete setup for $10,215.36. A V-Plow 9.5-foot flare top, complete setup, $95,20.84. Straight blade 9-foot scoop plow, complete setup for $93,47.24. Garrett Sitz made the motion to go with a V-Plow 9.5 flare top for $95,20.84. Eddie Story seconded the motion. All present agreed. There is still $7,000 left from the auction items to use towards the plow. Heather said she has requested the Recreation Committee budget from them. Greg said he would email the board short-term rental regulations. He said there needs to be some changes in the code book. He will take that to the planning board. The proposed local law for the solar moratorium was presented. Eddie Story made the motion to approve the local law as presented. Dwight Bruno seconded the motion. All present agreed. Dwight Bruno made the motion to pay for the radios in the amount of $17,904.93 from the ARPA money. Teddy Story seconded the motion and all present agreed. They are still working on quotes for a new generator. a resolution presented from Jim Basil, assessor, for having a reappraisal cycle of 5 years. Garrett Sitz made the motion to approve the resolution as presented, and Heather Ross seconded the motion. All present agreed. Several residents were present to talk about having campsites in Franklin. They asked if it would be possible to have a moratorium similar to the solar moratorium for campsites. The board said they would speak to the attorney about that. Another resident asked about updating the comprehensive plan and possibly using ARPA money to fund it. Heather made the motion to go into executive session at 7:05 p.m. for personnel and contractual issues. Garrett seconded the motion. All present agreed. The board returned from executive session at 7:45. Dwight Bruno made the motion to pay 50 cents extra an hour over contract for highway department. Teddy seconded the motion. All present agreed. The contract for 2024 with the Susquehanna SPCA was presented. Being the same as last year, Garrett made the motion to approve the contract. Dwight Bruno seconded the motion. All present agreed. Garrett made the motion to adjourn at 8 o'clock. Dwight seconded the motion. All present agreed.
So I had one correction.
Okay.
It was for the 10-foot plow, for the last one. So we agreed upon.
Not the 9.5, all right. Okay. Let's change that. So that was the 10 to 15. Okay.
Any other changes or corrections? I can have a motion to accept the minutes. Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay. Jamie, Highway Super?
Currently, we're working on doing some cleanup around the shop since there's not a lot of snow at the moment, so. We're also working on reconditioning 2 of our front plows that are just wore out. New pins, new bushings, some welding stuff, general stuff like that. Over the last month, we were out 22 days plowing, sanding, and salting. You wouldn't know it looking at the weather right now, but currently, all of our entire fleet is back running, up to par and working. And the white Ram, we got the new box and the V-plow put on it. That's all set, and we've got that back here. I've got copies of the MOU for the contract to the employees for the board, and I've also got quotes for radio systems, generators, and some doors for you guys to look over later.
Okay.
Do all that stuff.
Thank you.
That's all I have for right now.
With that, Heather Reck?
I spoke to Kelly earlier today, and she said nothing's really going on. They adjusted their budget cycle to meet the villages, so I can expect to see a budget like in May-ish for June, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, we'll move forward to code enforcement.
Well, January was a very slow month for building in the town. We actually had 1 permit for the month of January. You know, we have active houses being built. I've been out to do inspections on. We have several houses being built right now. No municipal searches the whole month, which means no property's been turned in hands, so it's been pretty quiet. Working with Teddy on the campground stuff, and now that that's done, I have for you guys the short-term rental stuff that kind of got thrown in the back burner for a minute, but I got copies for everybody. It's got an application form, a checklist that I put together for the people. All the new stuff that should go into zoning, it's a combination of all the rules that you guys wanted in there, plus stuff I added in there, stuff that a lawyer made me change. You have another copy? So I gave you one in the office, you can have one.
No, I think I have it here.
There. You won't want to do that one. Okay. So that's for you guys to look at.
There it is.
It's got all the definitions, all the authority, the enforcement, the fees, everything pretty much in there. Covers pretty much everything short-term rental that we're gonna come across, I guess, so. It's pretty thorough. The lawyer made a couple changes, told me a couple things weren't constitutional, so we changed. Because I used a lot, I used a combination from other towns, and there was some stuff other towns were using that weren't, I guess, constitutional, so I changed it all to be, the lawyer has approved it, but he wants, your guys' input, and then he said, if you guys are happy with it or want to make any changes, he'll have his girl write it into the zoning, however, like you're doing in the campground, okay? And once it gets past this process, I don't know really how it gets passed through, but, okay? But, other than that, it's been a pretty quiet month, so. All right, now we're starting to work on the solar stuff for you guys, so that, we can get that through the zoning.
And the rates too. We'll talk
Yes.
about adjusting the rates.
Yes, yes, we wanted to adjust maybe just some of the
Yep.
rates on permits, the initial searches mostly. You guys are gonna have to set, I put on here an inspection fee of $100, but you guys have authority to set whatever rates you want for fees for these short-term rentals. And we can add that, change that when it's time for you guys to vote on it, all right? Hopefully this will help generate some more room tax, more revenue for the county and for the town, and give us a handle on enforcing it.
Thank you, Greg.
Who's gonna enforce it?
Lucky me,
Planning, Teddy.
that's why they hired me.
Teddy.
Planning board was relatively quiet also. We had a minor subdivision on the intersection of State Route 28 and Epps Road. There was concern from one neighboring property owner, but it did not adjoin her land, so she was in harmony with it. And the other was just that the town board, the planning board asked the town board to maybe consider advertising, or if they have anybody interested in joining the planning board, could use another member.
Okay. The other thing like this Kellogg, you have anything to Kellogg?
No,
Who do you have? Lori, would you be interested in giving an update on what happened at Kellogg?
I've
Please.
never done this before. If you don't know me, I'm Lori Taggart. I'm this year's chairperson for the KECC. This is Judy Doring. She came with me. She's our new member of the board of the KECC. We're financially okay. We've been investing in some CDs, short-term CDs that have earned good interest. We've got one right now at 5.15. That's for 6 months, that comes due in July. So it helps pay our bills. We have lots of bills. And we'd love to have Dwight and Garrett come and meet with us, because since the beginning of time with the KECC, there's been lots of changes. When it first started, the school was owned by Delhi, and we had a place in the school. Then they sold the school, and we ended up with 2 rooms from the ginseng farm, and then she passed away. Now it's a new owner, and he's got big plans for what he would like to do with that, which would involve parking, and he wants to have a big venue for concerts and so that comes into play with you guys. So I'd like Dwight and Garrett to come and go over our paperwork to see what needs to be updated and changed and who's responsible, and we have to liability and permits and insurance and.
Because he's looking at, he does a lot of things with the, was it the Catskill, whatever it is, over in Belheim. And he's looking to bring that venue this direction, so he's looking at patrons of up to like 2,000 people and bands, and he's looking at parking, that he was talking about like 10 acres worth of parking, and, oh yeah. And we told him that the town is involved with the land, and that he really needed to come to the meeting here.
And talk to you about
guys,
what he wanted
because-
to do, not just come talk
Yeah.
to us, because
So that's coming, that's like an up and coming thing that is really pushing to do.
And he may go to Treadmill in March and talk to you about it, but we wanted to give you a heads up. And then we're supposed to be audited, so we need somebody to audit our books when you come visit us in Treadmill.
And we do have some upcoming programs over the next few months. We have Awkward Maple coming, as a matter of fact, this weekend.
Yeah, that one is that, I thought I saw a flyer
This
on that.
weekend.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Saturday at
Yeah.
10. It's for little people, Diane.
It's for everyone, but really
They're looking
geared
at
to
kids.
kids
Geared
in
for
mind.
the kids, Diane's gonna read
Yeah.
a book, bring some maple product,
Right.
share it with the kids.
We do have a program coordinator now, Julie Shea. We have, as a matter of fact, Roberta is our reservation scheduler for our
That's me.
pavilion. We have an upcoming program for March, which Callie Cheers is going to be doing. That's open to the public. And then we also have in April, a date is pending on that one, and that's for fly fishing and trying to get more people involved in KUCC.
Because we're supposed to try and educate and involve.
Educate Community Center,
So,
so we're trying to open up more for that.
What time is the maple?
10 o'clock on the 10th. And our space is limited because we're at the parsonage now, so we don't have the big rooms like we had at the school. So we asked to have people call and make a reservation with Julie. I don't know how many people have called. Last I knew, no one. So,
But our
Sure.
biggest
I'm
concern
not
is
sure how it's
what's
gonna
up and coming with the new owner of the school and what his plans are. And we really needed to let the town know what was going on to really get you guys involved. Because we're concerned as to what's going to be happening.
When would be a good day and time?
We have the next meetings coming.
the 21st of.
Well, the audit.
21st.
Do the audit. I mean, we'll come to the
We can
meeting
do that
too,
anytime,
but when you
whatever
want it.
works for you, just let us know and we'll come and meet you there.
Probably be some
You can
afternoon,
either email,
Yeah.
some afternoon.
Yeah.
All right.
okay? No,
No, they're their own.
they're their own entity
I know,
across the
but-
street.
But they might want to be part of this discussion
Discussion, which discussion?
about what Joe was wanting to do.
Yes.
I don't think that affects them that much because,
That's how you get there.
well, true.
Yes, you have to
It
go
comes
by
down-
there.
It comes down through Church
Yes.
Street.
Yeah.
And it would involve the emergency squad. and
Yeah, they want the
fire
emergency
department,
squad,
and
fire
security.
department,
and-
a bunch of stuff.
We only rent one porta potty for the field for this summer. So, just something
Just
for
give
you
you a
guys.
heads up.
I guess that's it.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
appreciate it. Okay. With that, we'll move forward with business, and I need a resolution for the campground proposal to send it to the county for a 239. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Along with that, I need a proposal for the campground to set another public meeting for the adoption, plus public hearing prior to that. Does March 5th, prior to the next meeting, approve with everyone?
Yeah,
Yes? Can I have a motion for that?
that makes a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Okay. Next, we have Kelly Renwick. She would like to speak about the school, correct?
Yes, please, thank you.
Please.
Well, thank you for inviting me tonight. I promise to keep this short and sweet. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kelly Renwick. I'm the business manager here at the school. I've been at Franklin for, seems like forever, 15 years now. So there's some things happening at the school that are negatively affecting the future of Franklin. So Governor Kathy Hochul released the proposed New York State budget for next fiscal year in mid-January, and she changed the way that school districts are being funded. Unfortunately, that negatively affected 45% of school districts in the state, Franklin being one of them. So we, as of right now, are anticipating a significant loss of state aid for next school year. About 25% loss, pretty significant amount. The number is just over $1 million. So to put that in perspective, our annual operating budget is $8 million. So to lose $1 million in revenue is a pretty significant concern for the future of the district. So on Thursday night, we are having a public forum at the school. Starts at 6:30. I'd like to invite you all to come, hear the information, help us in our advocacy efforts. Invite your friends, neighbors, alumni, anyone you know that has ever gone to Franklin, loves Franklin, has kids that might be in Franklin anytime in the future. Because we need to work together to make sure that we can get the message to the governor's office that what she is proposing for small school districts is not acceptable and that we will not stand for it. Any questions for me? I'm sorry, I'm being a little...
Yes,
We like that.
a couple of weeks ago, we had a Republican breakfast.
Yes, Mr.
And it was
Ayers
brought-
was here.
It was, the superintendent was
Yes,
in
Mr. Ayers was
attendance,
there.
and
Yes.
it was brought to the assemblymen that were there, their attention, and they are gonna fight it, to get it changed, because it's not.
Yes, so there has been a lot of encouraging information coming from our local legislators. They're all recognizing that what the governor is proposing is not helpful for rural communities, especially small school districts like ours. Unfortunately, the uphill battle that we have right now is the governor, the Speaker of the House, and the Speaker of the Senate are all Democratic leaders. And so sometimes that can be challenging for a negotiation at the state level. The governor did some interesting things with her proposed budget this year. She funneled money to certain areas that haven't seen funding previously, specifically with relation to migrants and English language learners and new immigrants coming into our state. And so that kind of shifted resources in different directions, which then detracts from resources that have previously been funded in the budget. New York State is facing a fiscal deficit for next year. They're estimating it to be around $5 billion. So unfortunately for education funding makes up about 1/3 of the state budget. So when the state is feeling pressure budgetarily, it's going to funnel down through to school districts. What she did was she tweaked the way that funding is handled. So there's this thing called foundation aid, which is the primary funding mechanism for school districts. And it's a very complicated, convoluted formula with a lot of variables. And it's never really run the way that it's been intended to. So she tweaked a couple of those variables, and when she did that, it had adverse effects for particularly smaller school districts that have seen declines in enrollment. So some school districts didn't affect at all, and it actually helped them. But I said earlier, about 45% of schools in the state have seen declining enrollment, declining populations across New York State, and that's negatively impacting those school districts moving forward.
Kelly,
Yes.
do you know, is Delhi similarly affected?
Delhi also received a decrease in aid for yes. Their number was not quite as high as ours, but
Okay.
yes. Of the districts in this region, there are literally only a handful that did not see a decline in their state aid, and those are primarily districts that are in more urban areas, City of Oneonta, City of Norwich, where they've actually seen an increase in enrollment and not a decrease in enrollment like many of the smaller outlying districts have. So please, come Thursday, 6:30, bring your families, your friends, help us, join this fight. We're going to do everything we can in our power when we need everybody's help. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay. KECC's on here. Do you have anything else, Lori, that you'd like to
No, I
add?
think I'm done.
Okay.
We have to put a roof on the, on the garage at Parsonage. That's a project that's
Okay. We also need to reappoint Tom Collier for the Board of Assessment Review. Okay. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay, now we move to open discussion and questions for the people.
I have one.
Ladies first.
Well, my concern is at the top of Case Hill Road in Jackson Hill, now the school bus turns there. And my concern is people are blowing by the school bus, like there's nothing to say that there's a school bus turn or a school bus stop there. Is there any way we could get a sign up there?
I'll have to look into that to see if that's something we can do or not,
Because
so.
Ben Jordan, there's also a school bus stop in the middle.
That's the only reason they're coming up there for the most part.
Right, right. Yeah, because 3 kids get off right at the intersection of Case Hill and Jackson.
Okay.
And they're like just buzzing right through there while the bus is stopped.
That doesn't surprise me.
No,
up
it
there,
doesn't
so,
surprise me because they're just terrible up there.
Yeah,
But I wanted to bring that up.
yeah, I'll look into it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a quick question. The short-term rentals, is there going to be time to, is there going to be a schedule for that? I have a vacation rental and I just want to make sure that I follow and know what's going on with that.
As far as when the implication of the guidelines is?
Yeah, and what are the guidelines, like?
Well, we have a proposal here, but there's nothing's been official yet.
Okay, so is that going to happen in the next couple of months, or?
That would be the intention, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And will there be a public forum for that also?
There will be, yeah, there'll be a public meeting for that.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Yep. Anyone else?
Yeah, first Jeff. Yeah, last summer, last fall, Paul and I talked about, the bank had called me at that time, Brenda at the bank, about short-term CDs. And last fall, the town wasn't in financial situation to put any money into a CD, short-term. And they have a 6-month CD now, earning 5% interest. And I would think it'd be a good investment for the town. Now that I think you may be made whole now by the taxes. You know, you've got funds that you might be able to tie up for 6 months and receive 5% interest. Which, if you're talking $500,000, you're talking, what, $12,000 in interest? You know, for basically not too much, you know, you're probably earning 0.5% or whatever through a normal savings account. I don't know, maybe they're earning more, Paul, do you?
I didn't talk to Brenda since like December, but we didn't have the money.
Right.
Sonia did give me the check for all the taxes, so we do have the tax money, but we still have CHIPS money. We have to wait till March 15th to get, and that's a substantial amount. So we don't have as much as we normally would at this time. But it's something to look into.
Right, but it's, I mean, it'd be, you know, you could tie money up for half, you know, the budget was what, 1.2 million? You know, if you could tie up even 100, and while I talked to, Abby now is the head of the bank, and she said they have, actually where they have a forgiving, if you wanna close one out early, it's either you have one chance to do it and not have a interest loss, but if you could put, you know, as many as you could have for like $100,000 ones, and if you had cash one in, if you lose half the interest, it's still a lot more than you make in a regular savings account.
Right.
And it could add up to between $5,000 and $10,000, I would think, if you're talking $500,000 in CDs.
But something we should definitely look into.
You know, I would think it'd be a good thing to look into.
Yeah, we've done it in the past.
Yeah, okay.
We just have to be careful on the length.
Right.
'Cause a lot of times I end up borrowing from one, so I don't have to cash a CD early.
Yep.
So I thought she said they were like, weren't they 8 month?
The new ones are 5.
They are 5.
They said they're 5 month. They got an 11 month, but it's 4.9 or something. Yeah. Because what I've, at the county and stuff before, they're saying this fall, they expect interest rates to drop. So if you can tie it in for short term, I mean, if you get 3 or 4 months out of it and get 2.5% on it, it's not free money, but it would help.
I'll let them know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Jeff?
The cemetery's been trying to find some stone, like your road stone, and we're having a hard time getting anybody to deliver some to us. Is there any chance we could buy some from the town? Not very much, we're talking about like 5 yards.
What do you think? Can we get it like kind of available? Do we got store?
We could probably do something else, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it, we'll see what we can do. One of us will be back in touch with either Jamie or I will. Okay, Jeff?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one thing. Amber Gray had emailed me and she has offered to put our recordings, isn't it, it's through a county thing, right?
Right,
She works for it and she has offered to put our recordings on YouTube at no cost. She will do it for free.
Okay.
Yeah, the only request would be that you have access to that first, so you can
Right.
do a typo, or,
Right.
minutes and stuff like that, and then they can have it to put on there.
Yeah.
How does the board feel about that? Are they okay with that? Yes? So with that, I guess I'd go ahead and notify her. So as long as she understands it, it has to be only after you're done with it.
Right, yep,
And our approval to release it.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
I got something too, Donnie, just to make note of for the minutes that Teddy and Dwight came and audited my books January 30th.
Okay.
Teddy and Dwight.
Teddy and Dwight, yeah.
And Dwight and I audited
Yeah, that paperwork,
the
so.
judicial folks too, so that's done, so. Okay, any more from the public? Okay, do we have a motion to go into executive session for contractual information? All in favor?